big hustlers, and welcome to yet another video. Amongst entrepreneurship, I like to talk about self-development because myself, I'm invested a lot in self-growth. I want to introduce you guys to a guest, speaking to her today about her story, her relationship with money. I'm so grateful that you've accepted to be here with me today. And as you know, I've been watching and following you on Instagram and also your webinars, which you run once a week, all about financial management. First things first, I wanted to talk about debt, okay? Because I'm guessing the reason why you wanted to start your journey, or at least your relationship with money, has improved as a result of your experience with debt.
And so from a personal experience, when I finished uni, I had a lot of debts. Student loan, obviously everybody has student loan. It comes out of your wages if you get a job. You can't help it.
Nope.
That 20 grand is going to start coming out of your wages.
20 grand! You're not lucky if you got 20 grand. Because your girls got more than 20 grand. Right? Continue.
And so that was like one of the major things, which when it used to come at my salary, I was like, oh man, I can't avoid this. Like I actually have to pay this back whether I like it or not. I went to uni in the time of the Labour government, and around 2008, 2011, you could go to the bank and have a £200 credit limit and then go the next week and say, well, 500, they'll just give it to you. So I used to actually at one point have 3 student accounts, Barclays, NatWest and Santander, all with a £2,000 overdraft limit, all with the overdraft limit used. I probably had about 15 grand worth of debt. Just from when I was a student. I was still only 24.
You went ham.
I went ham.
She went ham. Okay.
I went ham.
And you know what? You're not the only one. And before we continue, obviously, we talk about debt as is. First, understand what actually is debt. Okay. I have a very simple definition.
Somewhat Oxford Dictionary.
Yeah, Belisa's dictionary. Debt is money that you owe to either a company, some of you might owe it to banks, but also simply what you owe your friend who borrowed you that £20 last week and you haven't repaid. Would you agree with that definition?
Yeah, it's an accumulation of money which you don't actually own or have never owned. So yeah.
There you go. First of all, you have to understand we live in a day and age where a lot of us are going to get into debt, okay? If you are in debt, the first things first that you need to understand in terms of getting out of debt is taking that first step. Get out of burying your head in the sand.
Yes.
Because it's not going to go away. So that's the first thing I want you to understand. We're going to find out how, Sheila, with what you accumulated, what have you learned so far? If you can help us understand ways in which we can avoid debt, what you think got you there in the first place.
As a young person, it is the excitement of having money that is the beginning of adulthood. So some of these things are part of becoming an adult, but it's about how your mindset handles that. So yeah, a lot of it was excitement of having my own money, managing my own money, knowing that without my mom, I can go to the bank and ask for £500 and they'll give it to me.
And they'll give it to you.
And you know, and then on top of that, wanting to live a certain lifestyle, going on holiday and not actually thinking, could I have afforded that holiday just because I'm using an overdraft? In the long run, that's going to be an implication. And one of the things about student overdrafts, which I didn't take into account at the time, is that they only work until the second year after you graduate. So after you graduate the second year, interest starts accruing on all those overdrafts. But at the time, whilst you're a student, it's 0 interest. So it's almost seeming like it's free money.
But it's not.
Yeah, so 2 years
avoid
after.
those deals that
So if you know you're going to get a student overdraft, know that you're going to clear that overdraft before you finish uni. Because the moment you're a graduate, the terms and conditions are no longer the same as when you're a student.
They make it so much more easier for you to fall into debt because they give you this idea that you can have it now and not to worry about paying it today. You can pay it tomorrow. Later. That in itself becomes a danger, especially now with social media.
Yes.
A lot of people will watch others and how they're living. Yes, holidays 24/7 and things look exciting. Now, if you are somebody who knows they're prone to being socially pressured, avoid those friendship groups that actually can push
instigate that in you.
They can push that in you. In terms of debt and you just simply doing your best to avoid getting into debt, it's as simple as checking your character and being extremely realistic about where you are in life and what you can and cannot afford first and foremost, right?
I agree with you, What
else do you think, in terms of mistakes that you made that you could tell your younger self?
Definitely living within your means is important, and work ethic. We're talking about character in terms of avoiding debt. So you need to actually be realistic about that. If you like to go out, if you like to do certain things, if you know you want to wear certain things, then you need to have a mindset where you're willing to go to work for those things.
Yes, and that's fair, right?
That's fair.
That's fair. Things that you need to ask yourself. If you already know you can't keep up with the basic phone bill, then you definitely need to check yourself about taking out loans or getting credit cards. That's already a red flag.
Don't get yourself into debt. But sometimes it's unavoidable, sometimes it is unavoidable, and sometimes there is something that you do need to pay off and you've got to get that loan, but have a mindset that you're going to pay that back in a certain time. Don't just let it become something that you borrowed from somebody and left under the carpet, because, they are companies, and to you they might seem like they're not important, but you wouldn't like it if your friend took £500 from you and then said, I'm not going to pay it back. So, respect money that's not yours and make a plan to pay back.
Now that we've spoken about ways, I suppose, to avoid getting into debt, tips of how to get yourself out of debt.
It's one of those decisions that personally you have to just be ready to do it. You just have to be ready to say, I want to be debt free. I want to actually let my salary come in and it's my salary. I don't owe any of it to the bank. I don't owe any of it to anyone else. It's just my salary. Like, I generally earn this. So that was one of the decisions I had to make, and part of that was the desire to want to buy a property. I knew that at some point I wanted to buy a property, and so I decided to start the journey to say, you know what, obviously I have to clear all these bank accounts. I've got to get down to zero. So one of the key things which I am talking about in my next financial webinar is the good use of credit cards and the good use of balance transfer cards, because they were the beginning of how I was able to consolidate debt. When you've got debts with many companies, it's actually harder for me to pay them on a monthly basis individually than paying one person or paying one bill. So I made a decision to gather all the debts that I had into one, know exactly what was the lump sum figure of what I owed, and then trying to get a credit card to pay off all of those at once, and then only focus on paying the one bill. So either you can have a credit card or a bank loan for however much it may be that you need to pay off everything all at once. Then you call those companies and you say, I want to pay off the entirety of my bill, and then all you're now focused with is the one bill, as opposed to 20. It's a lot easier. The worst thing about debt management is having it coming left, right, and centre from everywhere. You got this bill here, and come payday, you got all the letters, and you need to call this company and that company. Mentally, it's a lot harder to manage.
Exhausting,
exactly, and then that's how you then become in a position where you're like, I'm going to just leave it this month, and that's where it begins. So. My word of advice to everybody is debt consolidation.
For instance, if it was a case of you can't use that method you've just highlighted,
it is better for you to phone up a company and say you want to start making payments, but you want to start in 2 months' time while you focus those next 2 months on one bill. So you tackle them a bill at a time. Obviously, yes, ideally they'll try to push you to say, well, can you start next month? But if you're realistic and you know and you've planned it out and you know you will definitely pay them back, you just be honest with them and say, look, I can't start this month. This month I'm going to be doing something else. But definitely next month
keeping that communication.
Keeping that communication. If you're about to miss a payment, or if you know that you're not about to commit to something that you said, call them up before the date arrives. I've got a problem. I don't think I can pay this direct debit on this date. Can I move it to that date? It's key, because you don't want companies to put you into default, and that's what they'll do if you simply do not pay a bill a certain month. It appears on your credit file. It actually does. It will appear as late, and it's damaging. So it's better to have that communication with companies. You can speak to obviously your own personal bank. So if you tell them that you want to set up a payment plan to perhaps, let's say, clear an overdraft. I know one of the things that helped me was on one of my student accounts, they agreed to no longer charge me the interest because I wanted to clear it off.
Really?
And that was because of the fact that I was just pleading with them that, this is actually not helping me because I'm paying 80 something pounds on top of the overdraft. It's not actually financially working for me, so that they took off the interest element in the hope that I was going to pay it off, and that's what I did. So communication is key.
There are debt advisors out there who are there to help you. Citizen Advice Bureau is one. I'm going to leave links to other organizations who you can talk to. But as far as these videos, we are talking from our own experiences and what we're doing in our lives in order to help our financial situations, right?
Yeah, that's
excellent. Well, Shiela, thank you very much for talking about debt with me. Hopefully you've been able to take something away from this, something that either helps you. Follow her, check her out on Instagram. I will also have her social media handles in the description bar below. Avoid getting into debt, or if you are in debt, hopefully some of the things that we've been able to discuss in this video, you can find ways to start working towards getting yourself out of debt. Thank you, Hustlers, for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Guys. Yes. Leave your comments as well. Did you like this video? If you're somebody who's also currently in debt and actually working their way out of debt, is there things that you're doing that we could also benefit from knowing? What are you doing to avoid getting into debt?